Okay, so I sent some photos to the customer, kind of update him on the progress, get his approval on how it was shaping up. He wanted to see if I could put some fullers in here, and I think that that would look good on this knife. So we're gonna get this back in the forge. I'm just gonna lay in some groundwork for our fullers with my spring fullering tool. Then we can grind those in, and then I'll do the grind in the edge bevels. Should be good on the fuller. I'll just straighten it out, let it cool back down again. Okay, so I went over the blade with 36 grit, 120 grit, and then the Trizac belt. You can see we still got a few little scratches there. Went over the fuller with the 120 grit. So I'm gonna hand sand the blade a little bit here. It's gonna reveal all of the deep vertical striations, deep vertical scratches, and I'll take it back onto the Trizac and then hopefully get all of those out, and then hand sand it again. And that's kind of my process. I kind of go back and forth till I get everything out. Okay, so we can see in the light reflections where the real problem areas are. For the most part, it looks good, but we have some, deep scratches in places. So I'll just bounce back and forth and see if we can get these out. Alright, well, there we are. Not too shabby. So, just gotta get the other side taken care of, and then we'll be well on our way to being ready to heat treatment. Alright, we're gonna get our handle pins drilled out. So, I'm gonna drill through the antler first, and I'll stuff the blade in there, seat it as tight as I can, and then see if I can get the hole in the tang drilled out. Alrighty, so here's what our blade's looking like. It's been quenched, tempered, soaked in vinegar overnight, hit it with the wire wheel, blued it, polished it with some steel wool. Looking absolutely rad. So next thing is I'm going to get the guard welded on, and then I'm going to epoxy the tang into the handle. Just going to clean some of the fire scale off this before I weld it. Make sure there's a nice clean mating surface. And if you're worried about, narrow tang knives being weaker, look at the kind of gradual taper. It's not like it comes to a hard 90-degree angle and then goes up to the skinny little tang. It's this gradual, constant taper. That's where the strength comes in. It's not a Chinese-made Mall Ninja sword with a little rat tail tang. This is a tapered narrow tang. This is how to make them and not have them break. So if you're worried about this being too weak, with all due respect, you're wrong. Okay, let's get this handle glued up. And so while I'm doing this, I have a feeling that some people are going to comment in the video that the tang is too short, or that narrow tangs are just weak in general. And I respectfully disagree with that. Now, I did forge out a longer tang, and I, would prefer a longer tang, obviously. But with the way that the Antler works, that's about all I can get without going through the edge, or without going out the end of the Antler. Right about here is where the soft kind of center is, and as you get closer to the end of the Antler, that all kind of disappears. You can see this is cut off of a deer that was harvested. It didn't naturally shed, but you can see this is all that kind of hard outer layer. So right in here, it all starts going away. So that material does not burn at all. You can only really drill it, and even then it's quite difficult. So depending on the antler you're working with, you only get so much tang space. So this tang, while it is short, I have full confidence in it. There's no reason for it to fail. It's the steel is not going to break. The steel certainly isn't going to break. And if you think it will, I don't have to tell you, I don't think you know a whole lot about steel, unfortunately. You might think that the antler might break off, but most of this is where your hand's going to be. If you choke back all the way up back here and you're really wailing on something like trying to cut down a giant tree, sure, maybe the antler will break. But you got to keep in mind, the deer are using this to, crash into each other at higher rates of speed. So antlers are meant to take an absolute beating. So I don't think that's going to cause an issue. Can't say I can guarantee it, because nothing in life is guaranteed, but I always get comments about these sort of things, and it bugs me. Mainly the thing that bugs me the most is the hate about narrow tangs in general. If you prefer a full tank knife for your bug out bag or whatever the case may be, that's fine. That's cool. But just because something has a narrow tang doesn't mean it's an inferior knife or that it's absolute junk. I just don't understand that. I think I'm going to blame the internet for that. A lot of kind of groupthink, and people want to just jump on the bandwagon. People have been using narrow tang knives for thousands of years. But I like full tang knives. I make full tang knives. Nothing wrong with that. But to dismiss a knife just because it's narrow tang kind of bugs me. Alrighty, so we got the knives all glued up, so I'm just gonna sand down the pins here, get this all flush. I went over the antler with the burnishing wheel on the Dremel. You can see it really just smooths and polishes up everything. So we're in good shape here. pineapple here is my willing test subject. So I'm going to test out the false edge with a back cut and a true edge. I think it's called in Kali a redondo. I think a redondo is really just where you make a strike and you let your momentum come through and you strike again in real rapid succession. But with this, so I'm going to back cut kind of the leaves there, then I'm going to whip it around and cut the body of the pineapple. So we'll see how that goes. Let's give it another shot. Cool. So I got a piece of it as it fell off. Not bad. That's always kind of the tricky part with this. That was a good back cut. Damn. So maybe not the best display of the back cut, but you can see with a little bit of practice, a Bowie knife with a false edge, you can really do some interesting stuff when it comes to knife fighting. Handle feels good. It's got a good weight balance and feel. With the curve of the antler, you can, do a thrust, and the blade is basically in line with the wrist. So very efficient and effective for that. There's our point of balance, just an inch forward of the guard. But yeah, really happy with this. All right, well, here's a look at the completed knife in a little bit better light. Hand sanded blade looks so smooth and cool. I don't know, just a little bit of hammer marks there. Happy to be back bladesmithing again. Still got to kind of be careful about how much I do and how I do it, but we're getting there. The pineapple test there was fun. Kind of wanted to just play with some of the Bowie techniques with the false edge. In the slow motion, I can really see how critical edge alignment is for that false edge, kind of flipping your wrist over. It is a little bit difficult. Not a martial artist, don't really practice it outside of these cutting tests, so kind of an interesting opportunity to see what's required to get a good cut on a false edge. Fighting wise, you're not trying to cut like through a soft material. So, doing cutting tests on fruit or milk jugs or the hanging rope cut is different than using it for a fighting defensive application, but they are fun to do. But yeah, the antler just got a nice feel. Your hand locks in right there. There's our balance point, so about an inch away from the guard, which I like. Still get good kind of forward chopping, slashing power. So obviously you guys saw that the tang is pretty short, but the rest of the antler offsets that. So it's interesting doing the, from doing the forging on the blade and forging in the fuller, got like an extra 1/8 of an inch width out of the blade. This is 1 5/8 inch width. So overall length 18.5, blade length 11 3/8. Weight of the knife is 1 pound 3.2 ounces, and width of the sheath it's 1 pound 11.6 ounces. But yeah, this has got a nice good fit in the sheath. Won't fall out, but it's still got a little retention tab. This came out well. But again, custom knife, so everything was kind of what the customer wanted, and I was happy to do that. So if you want your own custom knife, go to blackheartforge.etsy.com and shoot me a message there. That's the best place to talk to me about getting a custom knife done, or if there's a knife that's sold out that you are interested in getting, message me there, and I'll get you on the list and I'll make you a knife. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As always, appreciate you watching. I appreciate the support, and until next time, be more Viking.